These have 8 drivers each. That's just insane. So multi-driver IEMs have been all the rage lately. Some will use a simple dual driver setup with a single dynamic driver and a single balanced armature, but some will go up to 5, 6, or even 12 drivers per side. Now the question is, do all of those drivers actually make a difference? Now the quick answer is, it can, but only if it's done well. So the answer is not quite that simple. There are a lot of single driver IEMs like the Sennheiser IE series that arguably demolish multi-driver Chi-Fi. These are the KZ ZAX. They have 8 drivers in each side, and that's a lot considering the price. These were $60 and my latest entry into the rabbit hole that is IEM audio tech. Now the long and the short of it is that these have good instrument separation, but whether or not that's all 8 drivers working well together is another question. These are tuned to the consumer V-shaped curve to emphasize the bass and the treble, so if you're looking for something technical, neutral, or sophisticated, these aren't it. I'm just gonna get that out of the way first. So these are gonna be reviewed on the premise of being for fun, but I will get into critical quality as well. So let's dive a bit deeper. So just as with almost all KZ products, the unboxing was very unremarkable. When you open the box, you're presented with the buds immediately. Nice. They put the money into the 8 drivers and not the packaging. It comes with a generic cable. I tend to ditch their stock cable and use the Treble cable. Not sure if that makes a big difference. That's just what I do. So just as with typical IEMs, these do have a detachable cable that you need to plug in, but besides that, setup is very easy. Now, of course, most phones don't have their headphone port anymore, so you do need an adapter, but you often sacrifice convenience for audio quality in this hobby. Now, these don't have Bluetooth, but there is a Bluetooth adapter available. I haven't tried them, but I hear that they're good. These are super easy to drive and will benefit minimally from an amp. Now, these are typical KZ build quality. They're nice and weighty with a plastic body with a metal faceplate. Now, the grill on the faceplate make them look like they're open back IEMs, but they're not. Otherwise, they would have made a huge deal out of it. They're actually just cosmetic. But I do think that these look great. And I do like that the body is transparent so that you can see what's going on the inside. Overall, well made considering the price. They include a bunch of different ear tips. Comfort is all right here for the price. Now KZ does tend to have a problem with quality control, so one side might start to go out, and unfortunately it's not a rare problem. Make of that what you will. I haven't had a problem with their products yet. So how do they sound? Of course, this is the most important part. These are very much bass forward IEMs. There's some mid-bass bloat, but it's not awful. Sub-bass extension is great. Drums are punchy and powerful, but just not super tight or fast. Bass details and resolution could be better, but it's fun. It's a crowd pleaser. Now there is a natural trade-off when you turn up the bass in the loss of clarity and control in the low frequencies and the perception of a recessed mid-range. But I was surprised. Let's get to the mids. The mid-range is still pretty distinct with good separation, likely helped by the array of balanced armatures. It's there, but naturally overrun by the powerful bass. But it's there. It's kind of like this. Imagine that you have an incredible tenor or an alto vocalist, and for some reason, you also have 3 baritones and like 4 basses. We're not taking anything away from the tenor or the alto vocalist, it's just they're not going to be as prominent in the overall wall of sound. It's kind of like that. The ZAX don't really sound like they're really sucking anything out of the mid-range. It just turns up the bass. Now I know that's basically the definition of a recessed mid-range, but it's kind of weird on these. I can hear all the mid-range details and the frequency separation, but it's like behind all of the bass. On other headphones, the mid-range will just kind of get lost in the mass of sound and the encroachment of the low frequencies. The highs are nice and airy and detailed. Details are presented well without being harsh or sibilant. It's actually really great. Not much to report here. It's a V-shaped sound signature. What I will say is that it's not a laid-back sound. The highs, while it's not harsh, might still be a little bit forward for some. The Soundstage is fine for the price. Not super well defined, but wider than a lot of IEMs in this range. Now I keep coming back to the incredible instrument separation, but here's the hang-up. It doesn't sound super sophisticated. It's kind of like having all of those drivers made the sound a little bit disjointed and artificially separated, but it's not bad, it's just a little bit exaggerated. Of course, the overall impression of the sound quality is that these are tuned to have the fun, consumer V-shaped sound. These are not neutral, flat, or technical IEMs by a long shot. The textures of vocals are nice, but not as luscious as the more refined IEMs. It's a fun sound, just not sophisticated or technical, and when I get these types of IEMs, I really just get it for fun, and of course to review, and I don't expect technical perfection. So if you want a fun but rather generic consumer V-shaped approach to an 8-driver IEM, these will allow you to experience your music in kind of a new-ish way. It's definitely a nice budget entry into a sound that's fun and well detailed. Bass heads will be pleased, but again, if you're looking for a neutral and technical performer, these are not it. However, I do like these because they're a different window into my library of music. My usual listening style is more of that neutral, cold, clinical, and analytical approach, but I'm not aversive to other sound signatures and styles. These were a nice swing to the other end of the spectrum for just 60 bucks. So for $60, you're getting something that sounds much better than what the price may suggest. When I have people try these, they always comment on the clarity, details, and guess that the price is well over $100. For comparison, I think these are miles ahead of the ZS-10 Pros. Now, if you want something that's more sophisticated and technically far superior, I'm going to recommend the Truthier Hexa or the Critical Zero Red. Personally, I love the Hexa in basically all ways except for the narrow Soundstage. Now, I do want to bring something up, the KZ driver controversy. Basically, I'm not sure when, but KZ was exposed at one point to be using either fake or redundant drivers that didn't make an audible difference in the sound. This was just so they could say that they were using a lot of drivers. So if they were selling 5-driver IEMs, it might have just been a single driver with 4 redundant drivers around it. Now, I don't know if that's the case with the ZAX, but when you do something like that, you betray the trust of your customers and are rightfully scrutinized in the future. It's kind of like buying a car with a V8 only to find out it's actually just a 4-cylinder. Even if you were having fun with it, there's an unsettling amount of betrayal that you just won't be able to shake. But again, I don't know if that's the case here. So yeah, that's the KZ ZAX, a fun but very unsophisticated IEM with good detail, ample amounts of bass, and yeah, that instrument separation. These are a clean attempt at the generic V-shaped sound, but done in a novel way. Now keep in mind that different people will have different listening preferences, and in the end, music is a very subjective experience that's meant to be enjoyed. The massive V-shaped sound is not my usual cup of tea, but I still enjoyed my time with these. Now I've been getting a ton of suggestions on different IEMs to try. I want to know which one's your favorite and whether or not you have one for fun and another one for critical listening. Let me know down below in the comments. And thanks so much for watching and joining myself and so many others down this rabbit hole of audio tech. See you next time.